What team is Andy Farrell selected to face the Wallabies in the third test this coming Saturday in Sydney? Who's fit, who's available, and who's full of fight to go for 3-0 and a series whitewash? Hello, amateurs. Welcome back to the channel. I'm going to be here with you throughout the Lion series. Just one more game and beyond. So hit subscribe to follow along. Okay, let's start with a few squad updates. Confirmed absolutely out Gary Ringrose following his concussion symptoms. And the next players I'm about to talk about is a little bit ambiguous. Andy Farrell was asked in the press conference about the others who didn't make it last Saturday and what their status was in terms of selection. So I'm assuming they're talking about Tuipulotu, McCarthy and Hansen primarily in this one. And Farrell said they are 85% of the way there. They didn't train with the squad on Tuesday, I think he said, to give them the best possible chance of being involved at the weekend. Now, for me, that means that really, unless there was some major reason to include them, that they were unlikely to be selected. However, if something changes between now and the weekend, they are still potentially available to step up and be involved. But I think for all intents and purposes, they probably were less likely to be included this weekend. Okay, overall, Andy Farrell said they were back to work from Tuesday afternoon, a nice sort of few days off to relax, celebrate, and let the steam off following the series confirming winning match on Saturday. Now then, is that professional, would you say? What do you think? You know, I think it absolutely is professional completely, because the best thing, the most important thing for these players coming into this week is to feel refreshed, both physically and mentally refreshed. They're doing all that build up to that test on Saturday just gone, and they need time to recover from that emotionally, probably even more importantly than physically. They've done all the work. They're physically fit. Done all that preparation. They know technically, tactically, exactly what they're going to do. There'll be a couple of points, I'm sure, from the weekend just gone to tidy up, a little bit of clarification here or there, but the vast majority of that work is already done. So yeah, I think it's absolutely professional to do that. Okay, also influencing selection, the weather. And from the Sydney Morning Herald, the headline was "Polar air mass soaks Sydney ahead of drowned out weekend." That sounds fun, doesn't it? Aren't you glad you're still in the UK like me? No, I'd still rather be there. I'm not going to lie. However, it does sound like there's a lot of rain now and all the way through and including Saturday. So that will certainly influence selection. What does that mean? It means you probably want people who are good in the air. It means physicality is going to be at an absolute premium. Gain line and winning territory will be key on Saturday. Okay, let's get into this team for the third and final match. The front row of Porter, Sheehan and Furlong. Furlong will start his 9th consecutive test match, which is absolutely phenomenal, especially for a front rower. Itoje in the second row is going to be playing his 9th. However, he started his first test match against the All Blacks from the bench. So 8 in a row for him. It led me to think about who are the all-time leading people in this category. You've got Alan Wynne-Jones, one of the modern day greats, also on 9 consecutive starts. But then you go back a wee while and you got John McBride with 15. Now that is never ever going to be beaten, because things were different then. John McBride got those 15 test starts over 4 tours in only 8 years. So it's almost impossible. I'm going to say categorically it's impossible in the modern day. Also on that list, there was Graham Price with 12. And fun fact, I played against him once, which probably shows my age a little bit and his longevity as well. Fair play to him. Also in this front 5, we have James Ryan, who from the bench on Saturday brought incredible physicality, both sides of the ball as well. I was expecting to see him smash a lot of rucks. I was expecting to see him make some really good tackles, especially low tackles. He gets down so low for a man his height, but he carried the ball really well as well. I was not expecting to see that quite as much. I think you cannot have any qualms if McCarthy's not there, and with the weather forecast the way it is in terms of the rain, I think you want your most physical players, and Ryan is that in the second row. Think back to when this squad was originally announced. I think Ryan was a surprise inclusion in the entire squad overall. Andy Farrell went heavy on lock forwards, and I think Ryan was probably potentially the last one of those to be picked. Here he is starting a test match. Things can change really quickly in the British and Irish Lions. And the back row are all the same. They've all been outstanding in this test series. And if they're fit and available and they've got the energy, absolutely, you go with them again. They have been proven to be absolute test match animals and fully deserve to play one more time. Into the backs, and we've got some interesting bits here. Gibson Park and Russell obviously continuing at halfback. Bundyaki continuing at 12. I wonder if Tuipulotu was fully fit, whether there would have been a change there. Possibly. We'll never know. Hugh Jones, 3 tests at outside centre. Again, with Ringrose, you never know. But Jones has certainly, I think, justified his selection with his try in the last game and some excellent work on attack in particular. Into the back 3, Freeman and Keenan carry on, and we have Kinghorn in on the left wing. He looked lively off the bench on Saturday. His aerial game is probably better than James Lowe's, I would say. And the other reason why James Lowe, or one of his point of difference, is that left boot of his, all that kicking yards that he gains for teams. But we haven't really seen that on this tour. We really haven't seen it at all. So if he hasn't got that super strength working for him, or tactically maybe the Lions just haven't chosen to use it, then that's another reason why Kinghorn could quite easily come into this team. Obviously, he's played much of his rugby at fullback, but he's also played a heck of a lot on the wing as well. So he is the obvious choice there. And I think, based on his performance off the bench, very well deserved. Onto the bench now. And the front row are the same as before. Kelleher, Genge and Stewart. Chesham on the bench but most importantly, this is a 6-2 bench with Jack Morgan, who was great off the bench last week, and Ben Earl comes in. And I think if you're going to go 6-2, then there are 2 players, because of their versatility, that suddenly jump up a few rungs in terms of selection. Ben Earl is one of those who can, I think actually a lot of the 7 do a very good job in the centre. Ben Earl, though, has the advantage that he's actually proved it. He's actually got experience of doing that at international level. So I think that raises his stock slightly there. And then Owen Farrell, he's the only player that can genuinely cover 10 and 12. And I think with the flexibility of all those players from 13 outwards, actually, for the Lions, who can all play multiple positions back there, covering 10 and 12 is the most important thing on a 6-2 bench. So Farrell's inclusion in that respect is an absolute no-brainer. Alex Mitchell, involved in all 10 matchday squads on this British and Irish Lions tour. What a wonderful achievement for him. Hopefully he'll get some game time this week. Andy Farrell, expressed his sorrow almost that he couldn't get him on the pitch last week, because that would have meant he got on the pitch in every single game as well. Still, to be involved in every matchday squad, apparently Mitchell's just loving it. He's loving being involved constantly. So good for him. Okay, summing up, what do we expect to see from this Lions team? Well, there's lots of things, obviously, but the thing that I want them this week to really sharpen up and get on top of is the aerial battle. I think they've got some great kickers in Gibson Park and Russell to put the ball on a dime, although not always in this test. They've done some really good kicks, but it hasn't been 100% accuracy. But I think with Kinghorn in there and Keenan and Freeman, they are all so good in the air. They're all so good at going and retrieving kicks. Last Saturday, there was several, and I can think of 3 instances where the Lions got up to retrieve a kick. It looked like they were in a good position to win it, but then they either sort of just knocked it on when they got to ground, or they didn't quite control the ball. If they can win some more of those this week, and it only needs to be 2, 3 or 4 possibly across the whole game, that will change the balance of this game considerably. So aerial battles, that's what I want to see from the Lions this weekend. Apparently there's going to be thunderstorms overnight on Friday. Will we see some thunder on the pitch too? That's what I think about these Lions. What do you think? Do you think Farrell's picked the right team? Think about the conditions as well, because that's definitely a factor. But let me know in the comments down below. Of course, there'll be disappointments for many, many players. People like Josh van der Fleer comes immediately to mind for me, along with, people like Mac Hansen, I think, who potentially could have been a test Lion in different circumstances. But what do you know? Let me know in the comments down below and I'll join you there for a friendly conversation. Give this video a thumbs up while you're down there. If you don't mind, helps other great rugby fans just like you find it. And you can subscribe there. You can watch that one next. And don't forget to get out and play.